As promised, here is my successful attempt at completing the pachinko machine. I am not exactly sure how I managed to pull that off, but I did it, and now it's just a matter of getting the other 2 red coins. Suffice it to say that I was pretty worried this entire time after this. I was like, oh my god, I got the dreaded coin, and now every time that I fell down, I was just worried that I would fall into the little crotch pit at the bottom to my doom. So, but everything worked out, and we will be nipping these Delfino Plaza shines in the bud in this segment, finally, which is great. Yeah, they're kind of annoying. One of them is far more annoying than the other one, but I'll have plenty of time to talk about that one, to take all of this in stride. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video than usual. I try to keep these under 25 minutes if I can, just because I know, you guys, you got stuff going on like me and everybody else. You got a lot of content to tend to, and, when things go well on this channel, I'm putting up 5 videos a week, so I try to not make them all an hour long, because I don't even consume, like, full 30-minute videos every day on YouTube. I mean, I certainly have a few, but, I don't know what I was saying. Anyway, so the next one is pretty straightforward. You just need a rocket nozzle. I probably cut it out, but I was doing some aimless wandering because I forgot where the entrance. I remember what the minigame was, but I forgot where the entrance to it was in Delfino Plaza, and it is over here. The description of it in the GameFAQs walkthrough that I have been periodically referring to in this run did not really describe this area very well, at least not to me. It made it seem like you could get there by, like, going to Corona Mountain. I'm sure you can finagle your way over this little hill, but it doesn't seem to be the way you are meant to do it, or the easiest way to do it. But this is the minigame, known by some as the tall grass minigame for obvious reasons. And I wandered around in here for far longer than I am happy to admit, because it's just a bunch of tall grass, and they don't really give you much insight as to where they all are. And I also, for some reason, didn't think much of anything about the enemies, which there are red coins in the enemies. And I had never, those little things that are making the noise that you might be hearing in the background, I don't really know how to describe what kind of noise it is, just that kind of high-pitched sort of noise of those dudes who, when you get close to them, they start burrowing and releasing all those seeds that are very annoying and can hit you, and a lot of them are in the trees in Bianco Hills and cause a bunch of problems. Yeah, those guys, the singing dudes, I didn't know how to kill them, as you can see here. You have to hit them from far away. You have to stun them with your water from far away and then get them. And so my inability to kill that one just deterred me from trying to look for the coins there, and so I exhausted literally every other possibility before eventually looking it up and confirming, oh yes, I have to kill those boys. And in hindsight, I probably could have sped this part up, but some parts of this game aren't particularly exciting, but they are weirdly soothing. At least to watch afterward, not so much to play. I mean, the whole time that I was doing this, I wasn't feeling soothed. I was like, God fucking damn it, you stupid idiot. I'm trying to spray the fire on your back and I can't click the right trigger in all the way or I'll stop moving. And where are all the red coins? That's what was going through my head. But watching it and listening to the music especially, it's nice. This game has a lot of nice little areas that make it a good summer game, make it a good, just relaxing game in general to play. Had the right idea here, you have to be a little bit farther away though. So this is one of the few times, if not the first time, on this new channel that I'm actually recording this on the day that it's going to be up. I try to leave a couple of days in between when I record something and when it goes up, just because, for one thing, I need to edit the video, and I don't always know when I'll have time to do that. And also, I don't know, it just, like, I like to have give yourself the space, you know, for something. I don't, as someone who went to film school and did a bunch of projects at the very last minute, it's always better to leave yourself a little more time than you might think to add anything or change anything, or just to live with the thing you've made and let it breathe so that when you are ready to exhibit it or you're ready to edit it, there's a little bit of space in between you and the thing. And you can approach it with a little bit more of a critical eye, I suppose. That, and also, I'm just lazy, and so I like to give myself a little buffer for my own laziness. And this is such a strange little thing here. And it makes me kind of wish that they had done more with the underside of this, because I don't know, that would be really cool. That's some, like, Mario Galaxy shit, though. They weren't really on that. So yeah, this is fast forward, like, 8 minutes later. I've successfully walked around the perimeter of this tall grass terrarium for a while. I almost wrecked myself before I shreked myself there. That was very scary. But anyway, since I am doing this on the day that it's going up, I guess I will wish all of you a happy 9/11, or a good 9/11, I suppose. I mean, I guess you'd want it to be happy, right? I don't know. I feel like it might as well just be a holiday at this point, because it's clear that we're not going to change our approach to it. It's you know, I don't know of too many people who would argue that the common cultural perception of 9/11 as a bad and sad thing. I don't think anyone's there to challenge that. I'm certainly not. I will say that it's weird, but not particularly surprising, how much of a cultural fixation we have on the terribleness of these attacks and not on the, you know, like, 2 million plus civilians who did nothing wrong that we killed ostensibly in its, like, to avenge this event, which was not carried out by the governments of any of the countries that we have decimated since, and was in fact mostly perpetrated by, and we have mounds of evidence for this, by one of the country's closest Middle Eastern allies that we have not only remained close allies with, but have actually stepped up our financial and political support of in recent years. And I feel like that should get more of a look in our cultural mythos surrounding 9/11 and the war on terror more generally. But it does... 9/11 is one of those things that, especially in this time, it evokes a lot of memories of mine, because I have no recollection of 9/11 the actual day. I'm too young. I'm, like, on the precipice of the millennial and Zoomer, Generation Z generations. Like, I'm smack in the middle of both. I think the year I was born is typically considered the cutoff year for Generation Z, but I had only older siblings, and by virtue of that, I was mostly engaging in hand-me-down older media for most of my earliest formative years until, like, the mid-2000s. And so and generations are fucking fake anyway, they're made-up things, so I generally kind of subscribe or include myself as a member of both, since there are things about me and my tastes that are quite millennial, and there are things about me that are very Gen Z-ish. And also, I feel like I can lay claim to both of them because there are things about both generations that I feel alienated by. Like, Zoomers are far too powerful and honestly, like, weirder than me. And whenever I look at stuff like TikTok, I'm right on the verge of being like, I don't get this. Like, I'm too old to understand this, but not quite. But then there are things millennials do that, you know, just suck, and, you know, like, I don't know, making the show Girls popular. Like, the fuck? You guys couldn't tell that this is stupid? Anyway, I was going to say about 9/11, but I guess I'll mention what's happening on your screen right now. So this is not a shine that I'm actively doing right now. It is getting to a shine, and this is an infamous mission in this game. Oh yeah, are you ready? You ready to witness some pure amazingness? Yeah. This is garbage. I was getting unbelievably frustrated during this, and this is why I left it for last, because it's just garbage. So after a while, I tried to do this glitch, which I at least did this part of it correctly, where you're supposed to eat a thing on Yoshi and then jump off while it's in midair, and then you can, like, do weird stuff. And you are supposed to be able to clip through one of these buildings. I think the one at the front, the open window I've mentioned before, I think you can clip through that, and then you get to this, like, layer underneath the map, underneath all of the sewers and stuff, and you can just walk to the island. And it's a little finicky. If you jump up too high, then you'll go in the water and Yoshi will die. Or you'll get stuck in the sewers and then you're fucked. But, I honestly was like, that has to be easier than this, but I tried that for a good minute as well, and couldn't get it working. But I wanted you to have to witness all of this, because look at how much fucking waiting you have to do. These boats move so goddamn slow, and, as you will see here, you don't want to take any chances trying to jump to them, because Yoshi's jumping mechanics are fucking stupid, and don't work. And he does that little push forward at the end of any jump, so even if you precisely jump so that you make it, you won't always make it, and just always picking the most inopportune times to just slip off and be all slippery and fall into the fucking water. So, but you have to bring Yoshi over to this little island, because the yellow goop that you can only clear with his barf is covering the pipe that goes to the thing, and so you need to do all of this convoluted bullshit. And I just want to take a moment to say that, like, there are some challenging shines in this game, and there are some shines that I had to do many times in this run, because, you know, I was making a lot of mistakes. But I don't take any fucking responsibility for bullshit like that, like what just happened on the screen. And yes, I was yelling and swearing and throwing my headphones down during this point when it was paused. But I pressed on. I gave it one more shot. But I really don't understand why anybody making a mission in a video game would think, and it seems to be such a prevalent thing in a lot of games I've played, where they're like, oh yeah, a mission that is just 10 minutes of waiting for things to happen, where you just have to stand there and then do something very precise, and if you fuck up the precise thing, then you have to do all the waiting again, and it takes forever. The only thing that is time-consuming and tedious. It isn't difficult, and it isn't fun. And the only excuse for a game to not be fun, in my opinion, is if it is to make some broader point, or if it is to be actually challenging. And there's nothing challenging about sitting and not doing anything. So I really don't fucking get why it's in this, and I don't get why every game feels the need to put in these sections where it's like, see, the fun is that you don't get to do anything, is that you have to just wait for a long time and be very patient, and then do something very annoying. And the challenge is that you don't off yourself before the 15 minutes of waiting is up. When you inevitably fuck it up and have to do it all over again. So I just wanted to take a little moment to say that that's a bad idea. And if you're thinking of making a video game that has those things in it, I will not be playing it. I mean, if you're making a video game, I probably won't play it regardless, because who the fuck are you? But anyway, as I was saying, 9/11. Yeah, it definitely, I've definitely been seeing some posts today that have been bringing back fond memories of how strange, like, the early mid-thousands were. 2000s, I suppose, not thousands. I'm so ready for 2020 to start so we can start having decade names that are, like, normal sounding, because saying the 10s or the 2010s or the 2000s or the aughts, stupid, terrible, don't like doing it. I'm ready for the 20s, because then I can just call them the 20s, because you know I'm not talking about the 1920s. Anyway, but one thing it specifically made me think about was how 9/11 was discussed in school, because that was my only real avenue to knowing about it, because, like I said, I was a little baby boy on 9/11. I didn't really fucking know about any of that. I mean, I have, like, cognizant memories of around that time, but I don't know. Everyone kind of kept me out of the loop that day for obvious reasons, so I don't really know much about it. For all I know, I was, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I even would have been doing in 2001. Who knows? What was anybody doing? But I know what Dana Carvey was doing on 9/11. He was leading a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11 while in the turtle suit, shooting the Turtle Club scene in The Master of Disguise. That's a true thing that I know and love telling people. So yeah, we're doing 100 coin shines, by the way. We have now transitioned into the thoroughly uninteresting part of this game, where the last, like, quarter of shines are just gotten by doing a lot of aimless collecting of coins, yellow and blue. I've kept this part not sped up because I wanted to show this off. I don't know, well, I'm not doing it right now. Yeah, this guy over here. I don't know if he's in every level, or if he only shows up in certain missions or whatever, but he gives you this sick-ass shirt and these sunglasses that make the frame darker, like you're wearing sunglasses. And I like it. Yeah, I don't know. It's good. it is a very bright game that is right in front of my face when I'm playing it, because I'm playing it on a computer screen, so I appreciated the darkened tone of everything. A little bit easier on the eyes, really felt like a summer game that way. But, yeah, when I was in school, they only really characterized 9/11 as a plane crash, as a deliberate plane crash. So in my head, I was just thinking someone crashed a plane. And then in, like, 6th grade, I think, I did something that I did a lot, which was read ahead in textbooks. In my social studies textbook, we were stuck in, like, the 1500s. We're talking about Cortez and all those other fuckers that enslaved a bunch of people and made them convert to Catholicism. And I just could not give a shit about any of those people. So I wanted something a little closer to home, so I would go, and we never got to anywhere past like World War I, honestly, but World War II in a good year in my social studies classes in middle school or high school. And so I would always skip ahead and read what they had to say about the, like, 50s onward, because that was stuff that I could relate to a little bit better. Of course, they were all incredibly streamlined and uncritical explanations of those times, just being like, you know, the 50s saw great economic whatever, and then racism happened, and then we got rid of it, and that was about it. So, but they mentioned 9/11 at the very end of the book, because that was, like, the most recent event that had happened while they were writing the book, I suppose. Like, formative event. It was very strange reading about an invasion of a country, the country being Iraq, in the, like, present tense. You know, like, we are currently there, and it's like, oh, this is weird. But that's when I found out, like, oh, this was, like, a huge deal, and all this shit happened, and I have no recollection of this, and I have no understanding of the world around me, because I am 12. And then later in high school, I would watch news reports of 9/11, like the live ones, and be traumatized by those. Now here we are, I guess, where I'm just talking about 9/11 over a video of me playing a video game. Because that's about where it is in the cultural consciousness at this point. I mean, as to the point that I, like, never forget is, like, a joke now. Because it's like, well, we definitely won't. But, like, you know, my favorite thing, personally, to think about, I don't know what the hell's going on with this sign. I was not hitting, there I headbutted into the sign, but before that I was, like, diving next to it, and there's lots of weird invisible walls and unseen forces operating in this game, just forcing you to not make progress or do what you want. But one of my favorite things to think about from that time period was, it's funny now to think about in the context of our current furor over so-called cancel culture. Meanwhile, I remember a time between, like, 04 to 07 where a bunch of high-profile celebrities had their careers, I won't say ruined, but, you know, certainly their reputation tarnished, for not being sufficiently pro-war enough, or sufficiently anti-terrorist enough, which were conflated as being the same thing. And, yeah, I mean, you know, meanwhile we were torturing people and, again, killing hundreds of thousands of people who did nothing. But yeah, like the Dixie Chicks and all those folks. You know, they were, you know, they were like the proto cancellations. And I mean, it just goes to show, and I mean, anyone who is looking at things with a critical eye and not being disingenuous will know that. Sorry, excuse me, I'm burping. Will know that, you know, conservative culture is just as much a force for censorship and policing of thought and tone as the modern conception of the SJW is, I would say. If not more so. I mean, they have their own sacred cows, it's just that theirs are America, Jesus, white people, and guns, and not, you know, people who are victims of any sort of anything. And I don't know, I don't think this blue coin is possible to get. Not this one, which I almost missed because it phased through the wall, which is another thing this game loves to do. I missed several coins that way. But yeah, I don't know how you're meant to, like, this one where you go down is pretty easy, but the one where you have to go up, I don't really know how to do it. Well, I just did it just now. I guess the down way is the one that I didn't figure out. Because, yeah, here I go. I thought that maybe going up the rooftops would be an easier way to do it, but clearly that's not a good strategy. But yeah, I did away with slowing things down when I collect the blue coins. I believe that you can see them, even when I haven't slowed down the game footage. And I apologize if you're if watching or listening to all of this sped up footage is disorienting, but it's gonna be the next like 3 videos of this run, because I guarantee you don't want to see me aimlessly wander around collecting these coins in real time. Much less trying to make up commentary while I'm doing it. That would just be the most boring YouTube video ever. And there are people who live stream themselves eating for hours, and they make probably more money than I ever have, which I respect the hustle for sure, but I can't really imagine being the person who watches that. Also, I thought that was pretty cool that I got the shine and then the blue coin right on top of it. That made me happy. And then, of course, the new most important thing that happened on 9/11 is that Ted Cruz liked that porn tweet. That was a pretty great gift to the masses. What was that, 2 years ago? Something like that? That was so quaint. The funniest thing is, that's probably the most humanizing thing that Ted Cruz has ever done. Is, inadvertently admit that he watches Brazzers incest porn. So this is Peanut Park one. This is the last. I don't know why the camera was jittering like that. That was weird. But this is the last 100 coin shine, and this one, I did this one instead of Gelato Beach because these bullet bills give you an endless supply of coins very easily. And so it's a pretty quick process of getting the 100 coin shine, unlike Gelato Beach, which you'll see in the next one is needlessly complicated. Not so much complicated as the worst levels, and Bianco Hills is honestly one of them, which is weird for a first level. But the worst levels for these 100 coin shines are the ones where you really cannot afford to miss any coins at all. Especially with how quickly coins disappear in this game. Which is very annoying. But yeah, Bianco Hill, like, Gelato Beach especially, there are a bunch that are hidden in enemies, and you have to get all of them, and then there are some that, like, you just have to do repetitive shit forever to get, and I don't know, it's just not fun. But this one's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, especially when you get those gold bullet bills, because they give you, I think, 10 coins, something like that. But yeah, so that's all for that one. More of the same in the next one.